Welcome back to Straight Facts. Man United on the edge of signing Marcel Sabitzer from Bayern Munich on loan for the remainder of the season with a potential option to buy. A massive deal for the Red Devils today. Arsenal complete their deal for Ballon d'Or third place nominee Jorginho J5 from Chelsea instead of Caicedo as the backup to Thomas Partey. Arsenal also trying to complete the deal for Fernandes as well. We're going to delve into both of them. Chelsea have pulled out. They are not expressing any interest in Sabitzer. That's just been announced right now. Man United have a clear run. Personal terms agreed. We're looking at Liverpool today and their injury problems going on at the club. And, of course, Arsenal. And the big news at Chelsea, Enzo Fernandez, a British transfer record could be broken today. 115 million. Final stages of that deal. It's very close to getting itself over that line. I'm joined as ever by the king flip-flop himself, Lee Gunner. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I've got a bit of a head cold, but other than that, I'm all right, man. I'm all right. Yeah, my throat's a little bit tickly cough, a little bit of a runny nose, but it's what it is, man. We just plow on. We carry on regardless, Terry.
Absolutely, and loads to delve into today. And the first thing I wanted to get your view and opinion on was the news around Sabitzer to Man United. It looks the player has agreed personal terms. Essentially, United have said we'll pay 100% of your wages. He's agreed to the squad status and the kind of positional play at the club. He's happy for the move. He's not trained today. He's ready to travel to the UK to complete a medical. United are finalizing that deal. For the injured Christian Eriksen, who's been great for us, how good a move is this for Man United to land a player of Sabitzer's experience level and age at 28?
Yeah, it's not really a risk, if we're being honest. Like Eriksen, I said to you backstage, Eriksen's a very good footballer, but for the last couple of weeks, he's looked way off the pace. You haven't really got any adequate cover in that position. It's cheap. You're not you're not going out and doing loads of dough on him, and you've got an option to potentially buy him. And listen, he's 28. It's not like he's 31, 32, 33. You know, he's still got another 4 or 5 years perhaps. So listen, if you do end up getting him in and he does all right, you could potentially buy him. I'm shocked you're doing any business. I didn't expect you to, if I'm honest. I didn't think you'd be doing anything today, but you do need cover in that position. And the fact that you're fighting on, well, 3.5 fronts, I'll call it, because you're in Europa League, you're in the FA Cup, you've got 1 foot in the League Cup final, and then the half is top 4. You're currently 4th. Excuse me. You are currently 4th. Your squad's not that great, if we're being honest. Like, yes, Rashford's in fine form at the moment. Your defence is pretty decent at the moment as well. Wan-Bissaka's gone up a level under that manager so far. Luke Shaw as well. Lissandro's a decent player. We knew that. Varane's decent. We knew that. But you do need reinforcements in midfield, because your midfield, Casemiro's class. We know that. He's a Rolls Royce of a midfield. I mean, look at his performance the other day with his 2 goals. But other than that, Fred's hit and miss. McTominay's hit and miss. Eriksen at the moment is a miss, but he's been a hit. He's been pretty good since he's been there. But he ain't really got anything that can come in and turn a game. And I think he can. And listen, I don't know how much you're paying for the loan fee, but I'd imagine it's peanuts.
Yeah, it's going to be low millions. And I think listen, I agree that the squad needs rebuild. The squad is being rebuilding. And if you probably didn't read the United news like I did yesterday, the club has now shortlisted a number of players to leave this summer. Some are older. Some of our younger players are not going to be good enough. There's a long list of probably about 8 players the club is now willing to sell. Those 8 players obviously need to be replaced. So some of them you'll see promotions from the academy. Man United always do that. Some of them will be other young players that we go and purchase. We're looking for a young midfielder in the summer. Jude Bellingham, as an example, would be the kind of age profile. A De Jong, still in his early mid-20s, that they're looking at, that kind of range. But at the same time, you do need to bolster your squad with experienced players as well. I kind of look at what Chelsea are doing, and Yes, Chelsea are buying lots of young players, but there is still a fair amount of elder statesmen in that squad and in that team to help nurture them and bring them together. The adage you don't win anything with kids is true. Alan Hansen wasn't wrong in the 90s. You don't win anything with kids. But Man United didn't win with kids, and Barcelona didn't win with kids. There was a core of experienced players in that team that have been there and done it and worn the t-shirt. And I think Marcel Sabitzer, for me, he might be a player we get on loan and decide to buy if he's brilliant for us. If you look at his RB Leipzig form, the guy was on fire. Hasn't really worked for him at Bayern Munich. The fans like him, but he hasn't really been played in his best position. He hasn't really been able to express himself as much. And I hope that he can come to Man United and do it. And I'm a bit like you. I didn't expect us to do any business. When I heard the news that Eriksen's out for pretty much the rest of the season, I was fuming. I honestly, I was fuming. I'm not even going to lie to you. I was fuming. I was angry because I just felt we've been put into a position we didn't expect to be in this year. And what we want is for the manager to be backed. We want the manager to, because managers always say things like, I'm happy with my squad. They'll always say that. But at the end of the day, if you're not, if they could sign, like right now, if we could sign De Jong, do you think our manager would say no? If he's happy with Rashford right now, but do you think if we could sign Mbappe, he'd say no? Like, of course he wouldn't in reality. So I'm glad that the owners have allowed the purse strings to be opened. I'm glad that we've been able to get this deal pretty much done as it stands right now. I can't imagine why, barring a medical failings, I can't imagine why this deal doesn't go through for Manchester United. And he's a good quality player, and I'm excited about what he can bring to the club. I'm excited about hopefully the next level that he can take us to. And you suddenly look at that midfield, and Erik's going to be back in April at some point. But you suddenly look at the midfield now of Casemiro, Sabitzer, Eriksen when he's fit, Fred as a backup. I feel like you only really have to add one more quality signing to that. And let's just say we're in the position to do it in the summer. A Jude Bellingham, a Frankie de Jong, someone of that level added into that mix, and your midfield's set for 2 or 3 years. You haven't got to worry about it for 2 or 3 years. You've got depth, you've got experience, you've got youth, it all mixed together in one go. I think it's phenomenal business from sort of out of nowhere from Manchester United, and I'm happy because you're right. We're in a very good position. We've got like in the next 30 days we play about 12 games. It's crazy. So rotation's key, and we will be in the Carabao Cup final. I can't see Nottingham Forest beating us 4-0 at Old Trafford. Personally, I can't see it for love nor money. So we're going to be in that final. We're going to be at home to West Ham in the 5th round of the FA Cup. So I expect a quarterfinal appearance. West Ham a dog shit this year. We should be in that quarterfinal. Barcelona's a tough one. That's a tough game in the Europa League to have. But you get through that and suddenly you've knocked out potentially, barring Arsenal, you've knocked out the next best team on paper. So you expect progression there. So it's shaping up to be a nice season for us. And I just think as a United fan, buzzing that we've got this deal done, buzzing that we haven't just, we were looking at, Arnautovic is in the summer, the club wanting to give the manager. Someone like Sabitzer, high quality player, and arguably could be better for us than Christian Eriksen, who's been amazing. This guy on paper has got to deliver. Like all signings are on paper until they kick a ball. He could be even better. So yeah, very, very happy. And we're running a poll actually, and we're going to get onto Jorginho later. But what's been the best deadline day signing, Sabitzer or Jorginho? And crazy to think the amount of gooners that normally win every poll. Sabitzer's winning the poll by nearly 60% as it's. And every tweet I put out about Sabitzer, all the Arsenal followers I have are like, please, Edu, hijack it, hijack it, hijack it. So that always gives you a taste of what people think of the deal when rivals are like, that's pretty good. And United have had a good January because I don't know about your what's been your thoughts on WEGHORST's performances for us?
Nice goal the other night, but ain't really had much service, if I'm being honest, Terry. Like, it's not like you're sticking him on a plate for him and he's missing or anything. It's like he's good with a link up. That's about it so far. That's all I've really seen with him. Like, it's not like he's, his movement's half decent. He's in the box, but it's not like you're supplying him with the chances to get him in goal scoring opportunities. Like, I see him have a chance the other day that just went wide. He scored a goal. I thought that was his best performance the other night against Forest. But it's not like he's doing anything spectacular. But at the same time, like a goal scorer needs service, and you ain't really supplying him with the service at the moment. Like the games that he's played in, ain't really had much to go off, is he? Let's be honest. The game against us, what did he do? And the game against Forest, he obviously scored, but that was when you gave him a bit of service. So, and he was in the right spot to put the ball in the back of the net that time. Other than that, he's finding his feet, I would say. Yeah, maybe another couple more games, he might be up to full match fitness under Ten Hag. Yeah, obviously he's going to make him run a lot more in training and stuff like that. And listen, he's a big lad. Yeah, so it take him a while to get going. So it's not like he's just going to come in and he's going to be up to match fitness when he was out playing in Turkey, is it? Let's be real.
No, I get that. I think listen, I hear of everything you're saying. I mean, I've been really impressed with WEGHORST in terms of not the goal scoring. There's only been one goal, but he's doing for us what I expected him to do, holding up play, linking people in. And we needed that because as great as Rashford is on the wing, can't do that. Bruno has been tried in a kind of false nine role. He can't do it. And Martial's fitness keeps letting us down. If Martial was fully fit, he'd have started against Arsenal. And I think Martial's back tomorrow, so he should be playing. And I think that you might see Martial, if he can stay fit, regain the first team spot in big games because Martial's hold-up play is actually pretty good. I think WEGHORST gives us something different. The reason I bring it up is if we land WEGHORST is in. If we bring in Sabitzer, considering that we're in the middle of a takeover, meaning the club was never going to sanction large amounts of money, and the majority of our main targets are not available at this moment in time, based on the fact we don't have Todd Bowley money because we haven't been taken over yet. I'm really happy with January. We very rarely strengthen, but I feel like we've done some really astute, clever business. Nothing that's going to, I don't expect Sabitzer and WEGHORST to go down as two of the greatest January signings in the history of Premier League football. But I do think that it's good quality work from Manchester United. And as a United fan, as long as we land Sabitzer today with WEGHORST, I go into the second half of the season with an air of confidence, thinking we have got a good chance of winning silverware, which is the main aim of elite sports. Some Donny said that to me one time. It's the main
oh, you're on board with that now, yeah? You're on board.
I've always agreed with it, and I think for me that I feel like we can do that now. I feel we can go on, get a Champions League place, continue to progress and get better, but win some silverware along the way. And if we can do that, what a first season this will be for Erik ten Hag. He's getting the ball to do what he wants. He's getting the owners to buy into him. He's been given the ability to control the culture and the structure at the club, which has led to just dramatic improvements. And yeah, just a really, really happy Man United fan. And someone here says, WEGHORST, what are you smoking, Terry? He's pony. For me, hasn't been pony. Did I expect him to come in and score like Haaland or Kane? No. I don't think anyone with a brain expected that. He'll probably score between 5 to 10 goals in all comps for United this season. But it's the link-up play. And by the way, if Martial's fit, he'll be the guy that starts. And in the summer, United will try and buy, as best they can, a world-class 9. But he's there to link the play up because if we don't have a striker that can step into that position, there's no one to link the play up. So he's doing his job. He cost us £2 million. What are you expecting? Considering he cost £2 million and Cody Gakpo cost 40 million, he's been a tremendous signing in comparison. £2 million. He scored a goal in a semi-final for us. That's going to help put us into a final. He's helped link the play up well. To be unhappy with that, I think is crazy because he is what he is. He's a makeshift. So I'm personally happy with it now. We're going to be coming on to Arsenal a little bit later. So any super chats about Arsenal and Chelsea, we'll bring on a little bit later in the day. So I'm just checking something. Conor Gallagher is going to stay at Chelsea, according to David Ornstein. He will not be leaving. I know many Chelsea fans were hoping he was going to go. And that kind of brings us actually nicely on to the next conversation and the next transfer, which is Chelsea, really, because they've got this deal with Enzo Fernandez. And to break it down, where it's at right now is they've bid 130 million euros, 115 million pounds, but they want to stagger the payments over 5-6 years. Benfica are essentially saying, what they're telling the press they're saying is, we want less installments or just pay us 105 million pounds up front, which is the buyout clause, which I think everybody kind of understands. There is now a kind of war between media outlets. The majority of the Portuguese press are saying the deal isn't close, or the deal is close to falling through. The deal is close to not happening. But the British press is basically saying it's final stages. It's agree this and it's a done deal, which will then complete. Of course, and the irony is, of course, it's very close to completing, And it's also very close to falling apart because there's only 6.5 hours of the window left. Like, so it has to be close to either. How do you see this one going for Chelsea?
I don't think they're going to get him. But I wouldn't listen. I wouldn't be surprised either way, Terry. Yeah, they've obviously got 100 odd million quid they can spend. If I was them, after we're going to come to Jorginho in a bit, if I was them, I'd be phoning Brighton up and giving them the whole lot. That's what I'd be doing, and that's a deal that you could get done a lot quicker than Enzo Fernandez. Yeah, because obviously it's very complex with the Enzo Fernandez deal, isn't it? Let's be real, with the way they're trying to stagger payments left, right, and centre. They're trying to basically stagger payments on a buyout clause, which is unheard of. Like when we signed Thomas Partey, we had to wire the money into the central bank for La Liga, and then they then send it to the club, etc., etc. And once it's deposited in the bank, then they give the go ahead. It's very complex, that what they're trying to do, and obviously they've agreed personal terms. That's no drama. He's probably sat waiting somewhere near an airport. He's probably at a hotel at an airport, ready to go. Yep. And he probably don't know what's going on himself at the moment, because in the way Chelsea have moved in this transfer window, people have taken the mick out of them, but they've spent money. And I think if any top six club had spent the amount of money Chelsea had spent, they'd all be loving life. So it's all great to take the mick out of them. But I think every club wants that to happen with their club. And I did a show the other day, and it was with Goonie, a Chelsea fan. And I went through Roman Abramovich's first 11 signings for Chelsea. So Todd Bowley's not doing anything that Roman Abramovich weren't doing when he first came in. The difference is the fees are now 6 times more expensive. They signed Makaleli from Madrid for 16 million that summer. Jeez. Like they signed Crespo for 17 million. These are top level players that Chelsea signed. They were some of the first players Abramovich signed. Now you're looking and fast forwarding under Bowley, and it's like now 100 million here, 100 million there. That's they're not doing anything they weren't doing for 20 years. The difference is they're doing it in a January transfer window where everyone's been saying for years it's impossible to get stuff done. Whereas I've been telling you all, it's not if you pay the money. And Chelsea are paying the money. With this deal, they're trying to pay it in a clever way, which is why I think eventually it's going to take too long to get it done, and they're just going to end up bricking it and pull out, maybe go for someone else. They've apparently lined up Bamba, is it, as an alternative. Caicedo could be an alternative. So I don't know. Listen, Enzo Fernandez is a fantastic footballer. Is he worth 120? No. Do any Chelsea fans care? No, it ain't their money. Like other fans that say they're ruining the market and all of that, well, they're not really, are they? They're paying what the going rate is for top class footballers. Yeah, and that should be commended, not ridiculed. Yeah, they're actively trying to buy top players, and top players cost top money. If they get the deal done, then cool. If they don't, I'm sure they've got another 2 or 3 lined up ready to go today as well.
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised either. I think that's why Man United are trying to speed up this deal for Marcel Sabitzer, because Chelsea have expressed an interest. And although the press will say right now that Chelsea are not looking at him, you know as well as I do, that can change in 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, the world can change, and suddenly Chelsea are involved in him and they're interested in doing it. Interestingly, Fabrizio has just tweeted and said that discussions are still ongoing between Chelsea and Benfica for Enzo Fernandez. The deal has not collapsed as things stand. Chelsea are still trying. What I love about the way they're trying to structure this deal is buyout clauses have always annoyed clubs because you have to pay cash up front. I don't understand why I think Todd Bowley's being ridiculed because what he's done is smart. And when people do things that are smart or outside the box or different, it winds people up, especially if people
bamboozles people and they can't grasp the concept behind it.
Yeah, and essentially he's gone, right, but if we pay 5 million, 6 million above the buyout clause, we can then stagger the costs. So Benfica theoretically get more money. It is staggered, but they get more money in the longer term. We don't have to pay 100 million pounds upfront cash out of our bank accounts, and we can then go on and buy 3 or 4 more players. It's smart, innovative. Everybody's been paying deals over amortization for donkey's years in the Prem. The first one that became famous was the Pepe deal. But all they've done at Chelsea is go, right, then why don't we just offer these young players even longer contracts and spread it even further? And the reason why I think rival fans are annoyed is because it's a case of, why didn't we think of that? When it first was revealed that Arsenal were paying Pepe off in installments, you guys were getting laughed at like you can't afford him. And I remember sitting there chuckling, thinking, oh, these dullards. This is how deals. This is how deals have been getting done since the money went from small millions to tens of millions. Clubs have been paying off deals like this more regularly. Sometimes they pay by cash, but often when they pay by cash, they borrow the money from a bank. So they're still paying it off in installments because it's cheaper than losing that cash out of your business, depending on the market and everything else. But I look at what Chelsea are doing, and I can't say categorically they're going to get this deal done because I don't know. I'm a YouTuber. I react to the news. I give my opinion, and we take fan opinion. But I've got a very strong feeling that they can complete this deal because I feel like Benfica are stalling a little bit to get a replacement done. It's almost if they agree to it and get it done, and then their replacement falls through, they're in a little bit of trouble there. But they have identified a replacement, I believe.
And let's not forget, he doesn't have to be in England to do his medical. He can
No,
do his medical where he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, exactly. He can do that where he is. And I'm sure, he only joined Benfica in the summer. So there'll be a medical from there. They'll be able to get that sorted and done. And remember, the news we get is often delayed. So by the time we see here we go from a Fabrizio or the deal was done from Ornstein, he may have already done his medical, but the news is just kind of delayed. It's the way it always is. But I think it's a phenomenal piece of business. There then is the situation surrounding Caicedo. And there is news today from some journalists that he's in London. And he's not quite doing an Oldham wingy. He's not in the car park, but Caicedo's in London, and it's essentially he doesn't know what Arsenal. We know what Arsenal are going to do now, but he didn't know this morning what Arsenal were going to do, and he doesn't know what Chelsea are going to do. Jacob Steinberg said last night that Chelsea could sign Enzo and then go and sign Caicedo, or at least try, because they're just going to keep spending money and spread.
They're ruining the market. No,
I love that people say that. They're just not. They just spend it. The difference is
somebody in your chat said a minute ago. Yeah, I want to read this comment out because he obviously didn't listen to what we were saying. Yeah,
go
on. But he said, where is it? Let me go back. You get so many comments in here. I'll find it. It was about there. It is. Lee chat so much BS. Not once, even years ago, did Chelsea spend the equivalent of 500-600 million in 1 year. You utter bellend. You'd ridicule Arsenal if they paid these figures. Mate, I'd love nothing more than Arsenal to go and do 600 million in a window. And furthermore, what I said was the first season that Abramovich took over, they spent 120 million quid. In that, they signed a player called Joe Cole for 6 million. How much would Joe Cole be now? How much did they sign Makaleli for? 16.6. How much would Makaleli be now? Well, we're talking 120 for Enzo Fernandez. Yeah, you obviously didn't listen to what we were saying. What I said is what they were doing is nothing different to what they have been doing. Yes, they haven't spent on paper 600 in a window, but 20 years ago when Abramovich walked in there, their first window, they did 120.
But they have though. And this is what whoever that made that comment, what you've got to remember is inflation in football is not the same as inflation outside of the game. So you actually look at the turnover of football clubs from 2003 to 2004. You look at the size of the TV deals. You look at the size of money in general in the Premier League. So forget, you can't even look at football as an entirety because the growth of finances in the Premier League is vastly superior to that outside of it. In fact, a lot of other footballing economies have shrunk because less people in their own countries are watching their leagues because they're now watching the Premier League. Football has grown. They estimate Premier League football finances the club has grown by about 450%. If you add 450% to the first summer of spending that Roman Abramovich done, it's the equivalent of 765 million euros, which in pound sterling is around 675 million. And that's the I don't know how young you are. You might be very young, you might be old. If you're old, I don't understand why you're not looking at the inflation. If you're young, you're kind of not looking at it from this point of view. Wayne Rooney was sold for 30 million pounds in 2004. That's the equivalent in today's money of 150 million pounds on a deal. So that's why when people see a Jude Bellingham and go, how can you have 100 million? Well, the best young midfielders and best young attackers in world football have always gone for that level of money when you look at it as a percentage of what clubs earn. Man United and all the big clubs currently spend about the same percentage of their turnover on transfers now as they did 20, 30 years ago. Nothing has really changed in that regard.
The money's gone up in terms of sponsorship deals, income, TV deals. So then they're investing the same amount percentage-wise. This is the thing. Like, even if you go back to when Kante signed for Chelsea, 32 million. Now, you ain't getting Kante for 32 million now. Yeah, Caicedo's 80, 90.
And bruv, that was only because he had a buyout clause. It was low.
Exactly.
Like the Kante deal, the second season of Roman Abramovich, they spent 162 million. Again, like Didier Drogba, they signed him when he was in his early 20s. Was he 26?
26.6 million they signed Drogba for.
No, I think it was more than that. It was 38 million euros. So what's that in pounds? I don't know.
It can't be that much, Terry. I think they paid 26.6 mil. That was Jose's first season.
I'm just going by transfermarket.co.uk. They say 38 million euros. But the point being is it's 162 million they spent the following year. You have to look at the inflation in the game. And by equal measure, you go back like years before that. When teams spent like 60, 70 millions in the 90s in the summer, that was colossal. And the reason you know this, and younger viewers, younger viewers will get used to this in a few years' time, because in 10 years' time, your kids will say to you, Dad, how can a player be worth 200 million? You'll be surprised. When what'll happen is the new young starlet will go for 250 million in 10 years' time. And everyone will be outraged by it. Because in your eyes, well, yeah, but the stars of 10 years ago were only going for 100 million. Well, the stars 10 years before that were going for 50 million. The stars before that were going for 20
million. Look how much Real Madrid signed Zidane for in 2000 or 2001, whenever it was, 50 million quid.
Well, if you actually look at that deal based on the growth of finances, if you times that by the growth in football, that deal now would have been a 227 million pound transfer. Wow. But then when you think about how good Zidane is, if you put Zidane at 21, 22 in today's football, he would, like Mbappe, he'd be a 200 million pound player.
If Zidane put his boots on, he'd get a game at most football clubs. He's still that good.
When you break it down in your head, when you break it down in your head and think about what the stars went for, add the inflation to it, and go, would you be willing, if your club was told it's going to cost 200 million to sign Zidane, would you spend it? If your club was told it's going to be 180 million to sign R9, you'd go, of course, because you're looking back with hindsight, because we know how good they were. At the time when clubs were making these signings, people said the same thing. Go and find the articles of when Trevor Francis, who was the first £1 million player, was signed. Football fans in this country were going berserk. They were saying, how dare a football club spend £1 million on a footballer? Now, some footballers are earning half of that. They're earning £4 million a month in salary. It's crazy. It really is crazy. We've got some super chats here I want to do. First one says, big up, Lee. Just to brighten anyone's mood. Do you think any updates for our bench? We'll come back to Arsenal stuff a little bit later.
Look at the way he put Brighton. He actually spelt Brighton as in the football cast.
I know. United fans and Lee were saying it's not your money. Then they sign Anthony for 100 million. Now they are foaming because there's no money to make more signings. Yeah, listen. Man United have not got money. They've got to remember with Man United, the money isn't low for signings because we signed Anthony. It's low for signings because we've hemorrhaged 1.5 billion pound on 4 failed projects. That's why there's no money, not for what we signed Anthony for. But I do hear your point.
The fact that the owners have taken 2 billion quid out of the club in 17 years.
Yeah, just that as well. Just that as well. Not a reliable source. I bet you 10k Caicedo. Listen, I ain't putting no 10k bet on nothing with Todd Bowley around. Like, if it was just Arsenal in for Caicedo, I'd probably put the bet on. I would agree with you. But when Chelsea are involved, you cannot say 100%. So I'm not willing to risk 10 grand on something I don't believe in. I can't do it. Okay, we'll come back to the Arsenal stuff later. Anything that's Arsenal related with Stardom, we'll come back to on the show a little bit later. It's all the super chats are Arsenal based, so we'll come back to them a bit later.
Well, there's 2 top gooners on here, Terry. Do you know what I mean? Me and you.
This is very, very true. But yeah, on the deals and how much they cost, it's just the nature. It's just the nature of the beast, and deals will continue to do this. And what football fans will have to work out is this: when Amazon eventually, because by the way, Amazon Prime's football coverage is, in my opinion, it's the best. I prefer it to Sky and I prefer it to BT. The way it looks, the structure, the quality of streaming, it's brilliant. When Amazon eventually turn around and double what Sky pay in the billions to have the majority of the viewers, and I think that will happen at some point, suddenly then transfers will get even more expensive. And a player today that you go, oh, he's rubbish, only worth 10 mil, will suddenly be a 30 million pound player. It's just the way it works, you know.
No, same with DAZN. Like DAZN are going to try and force their way in. And over here, it's great, Terry, right? Because you don't get the pre-match build-up where they're sitting in the studio. You don't get the halftime team talk, yeah, and you don't get full time. You literally, a couple of minutes before the game, it does a countdown timer and throws it straight onto the game, and you have a couple of commentators speaking in Spanish. Halftime, it's just 15 minutes of pure adverts, yeah, like Spanish companies and that. And then at full time, the players are on the pitch shaking hands, managers on the pitch, and walking around. 2 minutes later, cuts off. That's it. It's perfect. I don't want to hear any small talk at half time. I don't want to see somebody shoehorned into a position that don't know nothing about the club, but is popular online. Yeah, and it's like, I don't want to see none of that. I'm happy with DAZN. So DAZN, if you're watching this stream, feel free to buy the rights for Premier League football.
I hear you on that. And look, it's gonna be an interesting one. And I said, when it comes to Caicedo, like for me, I kind of feel like I'm not writing it off. I know everyone's like, listen, all the people saying Brighton won't sell, Brighton won't sell, Brighton won't sell. You could be absolutely right, and I get why you're saying it. And I agree with you 85, 90%. But when it comes to Todd Bowley, if they don't get Enzo, and this is another update from Fabrizio here, he said the feeling during the day at Chelsea yesterday was very positive. At night, not so much. In the morning today, not so much, but they are trying and not giving up. But if they give up, now, right? If they give up right now or in an hour and they turn around and go, look, to Brighton, there's £100 million, which they could fucking do.
Yeah.
I think Brighton say yes. So I believe this is not about Brighton being resolute per se. I believe this is about whether or not Chelsea and or Arsenal, who I don't think are going to do any more business, come out and say, do you know what? There's 90, there's 95, there's £100 million. Maybe they say there's 85, 90 million, and you can have Conor Gallagher on loan with an option to buy in the summer. I don't know. I'm throwing these options out there. I can't write off Caicedo to Chelsea 100% because Todd Bowley is around, and that guy, he's just different. And I know a lot of people don't like him. There's something about him that I really like, and I can't quite put up my finger on it. And I think it might just be the fact that he does it like his way. Does that make sense? It's like
do you know what it is? He's just come in and made a mockery of all the fans that have said you can't rebuild in a window, you can't go and spend in January, yeah. And he's gone out there and said, right, well, we're just going to go and buy 10 players in one window in January.
And they've signed some. Listen, and Chelsea.
And we're not going to haggle with the price. We're just going to pay it.
Chelsea have signed some quality as well. Chelsea have legitimately signed,
which has been lost in all of this, by the way, because everyone's just up in arms about how much money he's spending, and it's scattergun. They've got no plan, mate. You do not buy the likes of Nkunku, Badiashile, trying for Enzo Fernandez, and signing some of these top players if there is no plan. Yeah, you don't become a billionaire if there ain't a plan. Let's be real with it,
mate. 110%. There's been a distinct lack of respect towards what they're doing, and I kind of get it, but I just haven't attacked Chelsea because I don't want to be a person that Chelsea fans target online when it all starts to click, because I think it's going to click. I've said it from the day they were taken over that I believe, and me and you had this debate about a year ago now, where I was talking to you about how Chelsea needed to move into 2023, and Roman, the way he spent, the standards he held, the way he spent, the quality of player they would sign, all of that, I agree with you on. 100% was right. But what they needed to do is build a longer-term plan, which wasn't rebuilding under new managers every time they sacked a manager in a completely new and different direction. And what they're trying to do, and you look at the people they've employed at board level, that gets ignored by everybody outside of Chelsea. The people that are now running the club are of a high level, high caliber, great CVs. And they are going to goddamn build. You are going to goddamn build a team and an identity at the club, but then on top of that, sort of Dortmund-esque, Ajax-esque. But then what you're going to do, Leipzig-esque, you're then going to add billionaire money to the mix. Which imagine if you
decent, attractive football, because if Potter starts getting this system in there properly, they're going to play sexy football as well.
Imagine you were Dortmund. Imagine Dortmund had Chelsea's money. They wouldn't have lost. They wouldn't keep losing all these players. They'd have kept all these players, and they'd have won Champions Leagues. They'd have challenged Bayern Munich properly, as an example. You know, if Ajax had the money that Premier League clubs have, they wouldn't be losing all this talent. Imagine that team that got to a Champions League semi-final. Can you imagine how good that would have been if they were able to keep it and add world-class players to it with the money that Chelsea have got? When you have a proper club structure and money, you are dangerous. And that's why, for me, I just can't bring myself for cheap shots and cheap banter at Chelsea, because I feel like it's just going to, I'm tempting fate doing that, and it's going to come back and bite me in the ass. There's a comment here I want to go to, actually. It says, Terry, you once said last year that you can't sign 7 players in one week. Well, there's one thing I'd say about this. There's one thing I will say about this with Chelsea. Do I think it's going to click? And go back to what I've said about Chelsea many times. I don't think in the short term they're going to be great because it's going to take time to integrate these players. It's going to take time to get it clicking. They've got to clear out dead wood. It completely and utterly is. Short term, this looks bad. But I've said all along, so don't twist my words, my bro. Medium to long term, Chelsea scare me. I've not changed my stance on that.
Oh my God. See, this is going to be the titles going forward for 2023-24 season.
I did a Chelsea scare
Chelsea
me.
scare me. Bowley just made Chelsea scarier.
Bruv, I did a Chelsea scare me video before Arsenal and said the exact same. This is why I can sit here and say this with
But you know what? I slightly disagree with what you're saying, though, right? Because they're only left in the Champions League. That's it. So the chances are they're not likely to go very far, much further in it, which means they'll be playing one game a week. So don't rule them out for top 4 just yet.
No, absolutely. And equally, when I said you can't sign that many players in one window, even though I understand football finance pretty well, I didn't think that what they're doing in the window anybody would ever do. This top
there's previous. At Inter Milan, Antonio Conte signed 17 players the season before he won the league. Or they got to the Europa League final against Sevilla.
I understand
the 2 finalists to sign 34 players between them.
I understand that, but equally, they weren't doing it by spending this amount of money. What I mean,
no, but equally, their income was nowhere near Chelsea.
I do get that, but let me just explain my point on why I said you can't. I didn't see Premier League clubs doing what Chelsea have done. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think anybody would try it. They've proven that element wrong. But the other side of signing so many players, it takes a long time. Look at Nottingham Forest are a prime example. They've actually started to play a lot better in the last month or two because the players are starting to gel together. They're getting to know each other. It's not that you can't sign that many. It's not always good for your team harmony. And if your team's in a good position, by the way, so let's say they progress next season, look really good, Chelsea. If they then went and signed another 13 players the following summer, it would ruin that cohesiveness because it'd be too many new people in, too many old people out. The attrition's too high. But Chelsea are doing something different. Chelsea are essentially, instead of taking 3 seasons to build their squad, they're building it in 1. And then it's going to be 2 seasons, in my opinion, of very few signings and just developing and gelling together. They're doing it in a way that no one's seen before in English football history. They're doing it in a completely different way. And it may change the face of it. And then what you'll see from me in maybe a year or two's time is say, well, actually, you can do it in a different way. Let's see whether it works. But I do think in the medium to long term, Chelsea could really make this work. I really do.
There has been previous, just not so much in England. Like Atletico Madrid signed 17 players in one window before. Yeah, and then they didn't have the income of Real Madrid and Barcelona. So it's all relative. Like I said, the Europa League finalists, when Conte lost the final Inter to Sevilla, they signed 30-odd players between them and both got to the final. The following season, I think Sevilla finished 3rd in the league. Yeah, and then their team got decimated. Everyone just nicked all their players. And then Inter added even more players and then won the league. And then wouldn't add any more, so he walked. So it can be done. It's just not been seen so much in England, is it? Obviously, Forest signed 20 players in the summer. Yeah, and it's taken a while to get going. But the difference is when you're signing top quality players, which Chelsea are signing, by the way, it's not like they're just signing rubbish footballers. They're signing pretty decent footballers, isn't they? And when you've got a decent manager that plays decent football, you've got the backing. Mate, they could be seriously dangerous in the next couple of years. I agree with that. Real Madrid have got the money. They've got the stature. Yeah, and this is why I get the when people say, "Oh, yeah, but if a player doesn't, if the club doesn't want to sell a player, then that's that." Well, how comes Real Madrid never seems to have an issue with buying players then?
Yeah, players are always for sale. It's whether or not you've got the money or are willing to spend it. There's no doubt. And just so everybody knows, I put it in the link below. Just go and mark it now. I put this video came out on the 27th of June. So my point is, I'm not backtracking on anything I've said about Chelsea. I said it in the 27th of June. And obviously my opinion has probably evolved since then because I've learned more about what they're doing. But yeah, like I can stand corrected in 2 or 3 years' time if this works at Chelsea to say, well, you can buy that many. However, go back and listen to what I actually said. Go back to those streams. In the short term, if you add 7, 8 players and sell 7 or 8 players, does it typically work in terms of maintaining where you are and growing instantly? No. But then Chelsea are only going to do this once if it works. They're going to buy this many, and then you might see a sprinkling of players here and there. but then it'll be about building cohesion moving forward. And when you look at the age profile of these players as well, like this team is young, this team looks dangerous. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this progresses. Let's have a look at some more of these super chats, as long as they're not Arsenal related, because we're coming to them later. Terry, why are Brighton fans beefing with you? I think Brighton fans are beefing with me because Brighton fans got very angry this week with links away. And all I said to a lot of Brighton fans was this. And obviously what I do when I tweet, most of my tweets, is the first thing I click on is mute conversation afterwards, because I'm not on Twitter to, like, I'll engage with people I follow because I see their tweets, but I'm not here to engage with mobs. I put out my thoughts and then I get on with my life. I don't want to sit on Twitter all day talking. It's crazy. I've got work to do. But like, I put out a tweet and I essentially said, Brighton fans are so offended that Arsenal would bid 60 million for a player worth 30 because that's his market value. I hope by this logic that they always bid something like double or 3 times the amount of any player's market value moving forward. So they want to buy a player that's market value is 10 million pounds. Brighton should now, based on how angry their fans are, their fans should be demanding that they bid 30 million pounds for him straight up. They don't try and negotiate. They don't try and drive the price down. I don't expect them to like the idea of Caicedo leaving, but the way they were talking about Arsenal and Chelsea, like, you were bad for football. I'm like, hang on a minute. When you took Webster away from Bristol City for 22 million pounds, knowing that they full well they as a championship club couldn't afford to keep him, that was okay. When you went to Genk, who are poor in comparison to Brighton now because they're in the Prem, and offered 15 million for Trossard, knowing full well they couldn't afford to turn that down, that was okay. But when bigger clubs than you do it, suddenly it's wrong. Suddenly it's out of order. And I look at it like this. This is why I triggered them. I just said it's the food chain. Do you know what I mean? In the Sahara Desert, okay, sorry, in Kenya, where there's a lot of safari is what I mean, not the Sahara Desert. In Kenya, in the safari, the lion is essentially the king. But there are certain other animals, hyenas, and there's jackals, and there's certain foxes that are also predators that eat other animals. And that's how I viewed it. Brighton are like a fox, and they're eating rabbits, and they're eating voles, and they're eating mice. But when that lion's hungry, they're going to come fucking eat you as well. And Brighton are going to be devoured. Whether it's this January or in the summer, they're going to be devoured by a lion because it's the nature of the food chain. The big boys at the top are always going to take your best players. But the crying about it upsets me because you do it to smaller clubs yourself. The hypocrisy stinks like bad. It's like someone took a shit in your mouth in the morning. Like, it's honestly, it's some of the worst.
I didn't realize there was that many Brighton fans online, Terry.
Mate, they come out of their caves. They come out of their caves, brother. And it's like, I don't get what's wrong with them. They're literally, I'm not a troll. I'm being real. I'm being real. I'm being absolutely
You're saying that with a straight
real.
face as well.
I'm being real about it. I just sit there and think to myself, how can we be in a situation where you steal players off of smaller, poorer clubs and then cry when bigger clubs than you do it? It's
part of the food chain, Terry. That's what it is. It's the food chain. It is
part of the food chain. They're good. They're predators.
They need to know their role. They are the hyenas that are buying the scraps, and then we're just going to come and eat everything.
It's exactly that. They're predators, but our clubs are apex predators, and they have to get used to that. Do you know what I'm saying? We've all seen Jurassic Park when one meat eater's trying to eat a human, and the T-Rex comes and grabs them. Brighton are the raptor. They're the raptor in the middle. Bang, you're gone. You're out of here. It's done. Just stop moaning about the way big clubs behave. A great one man said it's time to go. A great man did say that. A great man once upon a time did say that. Long live the. I always worry. Not worry. Sometimes I don't think up and coming content creators do that. Oh, hang on a minute here. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news indeed. This is massive from Sky Sports. Enzo Fernandez is preparing to do his Chelsea medical in Portugal. Doing his Chelsea medical in Portugal. Medical booked. Medical ongoing. My gosh. That is massive news. Massive news indeed. I need to get sharing that. That looks like it could be happening, bro.
It does, doesn't it?
Well, if you're doing a medical, he's got to be doing it, right?
They must have been watching the show because I said, well, I don't think it's going to happen, although there is time and he can do a medical in Portugal.
Todd Bowley watches social media.
Bowley's watching the show.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Enzo Fernandez to Chelsea. medical happening in Portugal. We said it would be done in Portugal, though, didn't we? We said he wouldn't fly here to do it. It'd be done in Portugal. He's going to get that done. That looks like it's going to happen now. That's just such. I don't even. I'm not trying to hype them up too much, but that's just such a big deal. It's such a big deal. It's unbelievable. I don't think people understand how big a transfer this really is.
Yeah, but let's be real. How much did they buy him for originally last year?
4 million.
And that was in the summer just gone, right?
Yes.
There you go. They'd be dumb to turn that down. They'd literally be dumb to turn that down. Yeah, even if they can't replace him right now, they're stupid to turn that kind of money down.
Yeah, because even if he goes in the summer, he might end up going for. I mean, I know he's got a buyout clause, but you never know what happens in the back end of the season. He picks up an injury, misses part of next season. Then there's a new flavor that everyone loves. It's like, we prefer this guy now, or this dude's better. And then suddenly it's like, shit, we can't get that money. Remember, this is one thing that they've got to remember, and I'll be saying in their ear, if I was trying to buy him off you, I'd be like, remember what happened to Wolves and Adama Traore. They got offered £70 million by what's their names? By City, and they bet that as an inquiry, and they said no. Adama Traore, they could have got 70 million for him, and they said no.
With Chelsea themselves, 50 million for Hudson-Odoi from Bayern.
No. I know, and now you can't give him away. Now you can't give him away. Give him away at all. Contract length for Chelsea will be problematic. Again, that's a great point. The contract length at Chelsea could be a problem, but that is only if these players fail. If these players don't fail, then they're not going to be problems. Do you get where I'm coming from? They're not. They're only problems if this goes wrong for Chelsea. If these deals go right, if these players all do well, then it's brilliant. There is that risk. There's no doubt. There's no doubt about it at all. But the medical is planned according to Sky Sports News, who, of course, on deadline day are famous. I do miss the people at the grounds getting the bits and pieces. I do miss that. That was different level. But yeah, that's massive news for them. On to Arsenal as well. We'll give you more updates. We'll give you more updates on.
It's all going so well until you said on to Arsenal.
So what's cracking with Arsenal, bro? Jorginho in today. Talk to me.
Shambles, if I'm honest. I've got some receipts. I want to read some receipts out, Terry. Got some receipts. So, our sporting director, technical director, whatever he calls himself. Where are we? Let me just go back through these real quick. There we go. When a player is 26 years plus, big salary and not performing, he's killing you. You don't have a valuation to sell the player. The player is comfortable. Arsenal, London, beautiful. Everything is fantastic. That is Edu Gaspar talking about why we wouldn't be signing players that are towards the end of their career. We've now just done that. Let's fast forward. David Ornstein. Arsenal have accepted that Brighton's position on Caicedo is not a bluff. The player is not for sale. They're obviously looking at Jorginho. Right, then let's go back to, where's the other one I see? There it is. Stan Kroenke has given the go-ahead for Arsenal to make a third bid. I'm loving all this PR, mate. It's great, isn't it? There is an acknowledgement at Arsenal that as much as they want Moises Caicedo, they don't want to disrespect Brighton and have started analysing alternatives, with Jorginho emerging as their preferred option. This was all breaking last night. Now, it's now come out today after everyone had a meltdown. I posted on my Instagram last night. Say exactly what I said. Posted on my Insta last night, maybe 17 hours ago, something like that, saying, where are we? Bear with me 1 second. Right, so we won't pay over the odds for Felix. We won't pay over the odds for Mudryk or Caicedo, but we will for Jorginho. Fans will lap this up after the initial meltdown. All the accountants will spin this into a positive when it happens. Now imagine Chelsea use that money to go and put it on top of the Caicedo bid. Right? Now, that obviously hasn't happened yet, but there is still, 4 hours of the window left? 5 hours of the window? What time is it? 5 o'clock. So there is still 7 hours of the window left, right?
Yes.
7 hours, right? So last night, Terry, that was about 15 hours ago I put that out. Everyone was having a meltdown about this signing, yeah? Initial meltdown. Then today, we wake up and we hear from David Ornstein again. Mikel Arteta is thought to have been the driving force behind the interest in Jorginho. All of a sudden, doesn't matter anymore. David Ornstein's tweeted it. Mikel Arteta wants him. Let's all back him and be happy. Mate, it's a shambles. This window, Terry, was going all right. Yeah, I still wasn't happy. I didn't want Mudryk. And I see a couple of people in your chat saying, oh, you now rate Mudryk because he's gone to Chelsea, when I was saying they've signed some good players. I never once mentioned Mudryk, so I don't know what you're talking about. But I didn't want him. We wanted that guy Mudryk in July at 45 million, but we never put a bid in at 45. We thought that was a little bit too much in the summer. We then spent, from when the initial inquiry with Mudryk went in July, all the way through to the second week of January, messing around, lowballing, putting stupid bids in, and then Chelsea come in and pay the money. We then hear, again from David Ornstein, by the way, that Chelsea's offer of 5 million euros more was on considerably higher wages, right? Well, it turns out he's on 13 grand a week more than Arsenal offered him, because that then came out a couple of days later once it had all been brushed under the carpet again, right? So then we go and sign Trossard. Great signing. That's who I wanted. I'm happy with that. Cool. We then go and sign Kivior. Cool. Don't know much about him, but it is what it is. It's another body in there that's better than Rob Holding. So now we then turn our attention to Caicedo. We've known from the very outset they want around 80 million quid for him. It's been reported everywhere, Terry, right? Literally everywhere. So we go, we give you 60. Then we go back, we give you 65 plus 5. Now, out of respect to Brighton, we don't want to bid again. What is this, a playground or an elite level sports company, like a football club? Because I'm sorry, I couldn't care less whether we upset Brighton. We want your player. He wants to leave. And two of these players, these two players that I've mentioned, Mudryk and Caicedo, have both been on their Instagrams saying they want to come to Arsenal. Yeah. So we have now had our sporting director gallivanting all around Europe to miss out on our two main targets. What is he doing? And then everyone's had a meltdown about it. But then Ornstein comes out, well, Mikel Arteta was the driving force. I couldn't care less. Yeah, no way in a million years are you telling me that Mikel Arteta said, that's the man I want. And if he did, it would have been done at the start of the window. We wanted Caicedo, and we decided, actually, what we'll do is we'll get him to put out a comment via his agency on his Instagram, and we're forced to deal so we can lowball him. Pay the money. We're the only club I have ever seen that do this every single window. I remember when David Dean was here, and Arsene Wenger used to have a valuation of a player. And the amount of times David Dean come out and said, yeah, I just ignored his valuation and signed him anyway. Yeah, now we're still doing that 20, 30 years later. We're still, our valuation is X. Theirs is Y. We're not going above X. I'm sorry, mate. Caicedo is an instant upgrade. He is an adequate replacement to not only Granit Xhaka, but also Thomas Partey, if either one of them get injured. And Thomas Partey has a track record of getting injured every season multiple times. So now what we've done is we've gone for the cheap and cheerful deal, and our fans are spinning it now. Oh, but we can go and get Declan Rice or Caicedo in the summer. I genuinely couldn't care less about the summer. We have 19 games left of this season. Who cares about next season? Worry about that in the summer. Now, right now, we are top of the table. The manager has overachieved with the bench that he's had, and Edu has fouled him. And people are saying, oh, it's the Cronkies. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. Edu, Richard Garlick, Tim Lewis, and Vinay Venkatesham, they all know how much money we can spend in this window. They all know that. They all know what we can go to. So either we haven't got enough money to buy Caicedo if he's more than 70, or we weren't prepared to do it. And I'd go with the latter. We're not prepared to do it. And people are going to spin this into, oh, yeah, but he's a Champions League winner. He's a Ballon d'Or third place finisher. He's won everything. It's cheap. And no. These are the same little accountants that came out telling me and everyone else that Felix was too much money at 15 million all in for 6 months. Well, let's put it this way. We've just given Chelsea 10 million quid for a guy with 21 weeks left on his contract. That equates to 476 grand a week for every week of the contract. And that's smart business. Now we're going to pay him around 100 grand a week for 18 months. That's now another 9 million quid. So we've just done 19 million quid on Jorginho. What is going on here? I'm sorry, how anyone's happy with that? I'm sorry, that ain't good enough. And then it's, oh, but he's going to be a backup anyway. And no, he might not play many games. And you know, if Arteta's happy with him, then I'm happy. What is this is why this club is like this, Terry. Because if Arteta and the staff and everyone's happy, initially I wasn't happy, but now I am. Because I'll just lap it up because the traction online is lapping it up and I don't want to get abuse. How about say what you think? Yeah, that is not a signing that anyone wanted yesterday. But now it's cool. And that is why the club continued to take the mick.
Well,
I top of the table with the best opportunity, Terry, to win a title that we've had for a long time. Some of these people that are sitting in the chat that want to chat crap to me have probably never ever seen Arsenal win a title. I know what that feeling's like. I've seen it 5 times. This might be the last opportunity we get in a long while to win a title as well. Don't you want to have a nice summer knowing that you can walk around telling everyone, yo, we're champions, mate. Champions. Yeah, what? Talk to us. Singing it all season, next season. Champions of England. Instead, it's, don't matter. We got bigger fish to fry. We'll get Declan Rice in the summer. Now let's go back over Edu's high-value deals. Rafinha, didn't get him. Vlahovic, didn't get him. Mudryk, didn't get him. Caicedo, didn't get him. Why does anyone think that Edu can close a door, let alone close a high-value deal? And then people will spin it again and say, yeah, but look at the signings he has brought in. You know, it's not all bad. Okay, well, he brought in David Luiz. He brought in Willian. He brought in Lokonga, who's going on loan. He brought in Marquinhos, who, by the way, was a free signing, but to keep good relations with that club as well, we paid him 3 million. He brought in Cedric when he brought in Pablo Mari. Cedric was injured when we signed him on loan, and then we gave him a 4-year deal on 90 grand a week when he was still injured. Yeah, Cedric, yeah, Mari, Runnison. It ain't good enough, mate. It ain't good enough. We're in a prime position to go and win a title. We should have been doing everything that's required. But again, because of his cock up with the Mudryk deal, the whole world knew we had 100 million euros to spend.
I understand that. I want to go through some super chats first on here. Terry, don't give Lee a tough time today. Bro is angry.
And my throat's killing me as well, so I can't even scream and shout.
I hear you. Jorginho signed a retirement plan set up for life, is what B says here. Why do Arsenal always sign Finnish Chelsea players? Is what Ramo has.
That's the 6th one, by the way.
Not only we went from Caicedo to Jorginho, Elneny is injured for the rest of the season, and Sambi is also gone. How the hell we finished the January window with less midfield depth? Edu out, and that's one thing I asked Jess about earlier today, and it was almost like with Lokonga going. I understand Lokonga going out on loan because people don't want him here, but with Edu now out injured, you've actually got 3 senior midfielders for the rest of the season now. That's the element of this deal that I'll get onto Jorginho in a minute, but that's the element of the deal which I think's a bit strange. J5, not the signing we want, but in Mikel Arteta,
And that is exactly my point. Not the signing you want, but you'll just back it anyway. And that is why this club has had everyone's pants down for 19 years. Because it don't matter, we just lap it up anyway. Which is why they keep serving it up. We're one of the richest clubs on the planet. And yesterday, I was on a show with Henry Wright, and we worked out our owner, Stan Kroenke, his value, his worth, is worth double and more what Tottenham and Chelsea's are together. Well, and people are sitting there lapping this up.
Mate, it's very true. Like, you guys are very wealthy owners. No amount of club PR can convince me that Jorginho deal is good. Edu out is what Amir says. People trying to justify this. Oh, Mikel wanted him at City. That was 5 to 6 years ago, morons. Bravo, Edo, again failing us. Real waste of money. Here is what Guna Dan says. John Doe says, Terry, make a deal with Lee. If Jorginho comes in and performs, he needs to put out an apology video to Arteta, Jorginho, and Edu. No goal post shifting.
Yeah, but this is the difference, right? But listen, people are more interested about apologies than Arsenal actually fucking winning the title, and it winds me up. It winds me up. Why do you care whether I apologise? As long as you're backing Jorginho, shut up. I must be gargantuan because at the end of the day, Terry, right? I'm just one Arsenal fan, and I'm one Arsenal fan that sits on my channel and other channels that I go on, holding this club accountable for, number one, their words that they told me in 2004. We are smashing the stadium down to move and compete with the best in the world, right? Number two, David Ornstein again, by the way, back in 2012. I've still got the thing on my phone. I did it on my show the other day. I interviewed Ivan Gazidis in 2012. 5 years after moving to that stadium, we're going to compete with the best teams in the world. Well, fast forward, all these years later, can somebody tell me when that's happening then? Yes, we're top of the table. Fantastic. I've already said on this show a minute ago, Arteta's overachieved with that bench. But now we're signing Jorginho for 20 million all in with his wages and the fee. We have just given Chelsea nearly £500,000 a week for every week left on his contract. And people want to justify that when they're all out here with their little calculators and their rulers and their spreadsheets the other day, trying to tell me and convince me that Felix weren't good money. Well, Felix starts. Jorginho don't. Imagine a double pivot of Jorginho and Granit Xhaka when Thomas Partey eventually gets injured, which he will again this season.
Yeah.
And that's not being negative. That's being realistic. He gets injured every year. Jorginho and Xhaka, good luck with that.
I hear you on that. This super chat says, big up Lee. Just to brighten everyone's mood, do you think he's an upgrade for our bench of Trossard, Jacob, Jorginho, better than the bench before?
That shouldn't be the standard. That's not.
I mean,
it's better than before.
Yeah,
it should be. Let's go and get the best we can get. We're Arsenal Football Club, moving like Barnet. Yeah. How can you? No disrespect to Brighton. I actually like watching them play football. I think they're a very well-run football club. Yeah, the way they've come up through the leagues. There was a video on HITC the other day. The lad was explaining their rise, and it was a fantastic video. They're a fantastic football club. But I'm no disrespect. I said this to you about half an hour ago. How can Real Madrid go to a football club and very, very rarely fail in signing a player? Why? Because it's number one, Real Madrid. Number two, they have the money. And number three, they're actually respected in the boardroom. Are you telling me Edu's respected? He's the laughing stock of Europe, Terry.
I hear what you're saying there. Daniel says your financial accounting and macroeconomic. I think the macroeconomic perspective is awesome. So thank you. I appreciate that. Jorginho getting bulldozed on counters. Thank you very much. You can add this Saka deal stalling to another miss for Edu. He just struggles with high priority signings. Even Zinni was a plan B.
Well, the thing with that, very quickly, right? Saka's deal's been on the table and negotiating since April. I personally believe it's done already, and they're just waiting to see who they could get in midfield in this window. And by the way, this is the third transfer window we failed to do what's required in terms of midfield. Because last January we signed no one. The summer we missed out, didn't sign anyone in midfield to cover Partey. And now this window it looks like we're not either. So sorry. And as for that Saka deal, they've been waiting. That's already signed, sealed, delivered. And I guarantee by the end of this week, there'll be Ornstein out here, everyone else will be out here, and they'll be saying, oh yes, Arsenal were firm on their stance. And you know, they didn't want to go and disrespect Brighton. I could not care less whether we disrespect every club. We didn't care about disrespecting Atletico Madrid when we've got Partey.
No, totally agree. When I get through some more of these super chats, people, I want to show Lee something.
End of this week, Saka will have his deal signed, sealed, delivered, and that'll be dropped by the club to sweeten up everyone that's fuming about Jorginho. I know how this club works, mate.
Apparently, Terry, UEFA and FIFA would try to change the rule because Chelsea, they won't be able to give 8-year contracts, but only a cap of 5. Yeah, but that hasn't come in yet, which is why you might see Chelsea try and get Caicedo as well.
Also, with the FFP, I think you can only do it within 5 years.
So, but FFP is changing as well. So FFP is no longer going to be about profit and loss as a business. It's going to be about how much of it. There's going to be a cap on the percentage of your turnover you can spend. So, for instance, Man United spend more than most clubs in Europe, but we actually spend less of a percentage of our turnover than most clubs in Europe, which means that we'll be able to spend more than our rivals moving forward because I think it's going to be capped at like 75%. We currently spend about 69%. I think in the last few years, Arsenal spent about 82%. So Arsenal's spending's actually got to slow down unless they increase their revenue. So there's lots going on with that. Jorginho with legs around him isn't that bad. Barca are trying to get Amrabat on loan. Liverpool should swoop in. Thank you, Jorge, for that. Lee, when Pep didn't get Cucurella from Brighton, City fans didn't flip because they trust him. Give Arteta the slack he's earned this season. Lee, trust him.
If I mentioned Arteta, I was talking about Edu. And not only that, yeah, Pep Guardiola is the best coach on the planet, mate. So I have no idea why you're comparing the two.
I get that.
Man City have won 4 league titles out of the last 5 seasons.
I hear you. Lee complains when Arsenal are not being proactive. Says big clubs are meant to be proactive. Now we are being proactive, and he says we need to be reactive and not care about the summer. Is what?
Let me ask you a question, John. Yeah, right. Let me ask you a question. We've got 19 games left of this season. Why do you give one iota's talk about the summer? Why? Because again, the same journalist, who I'm going to call out again, by the way, Ornstein, put out a story that Declan Rice has given his word on a summer move. That was teed up 2 weeks ago for this cock up with Caicedo, saying we signed Jorginho and then we'll go and get him in the summer. People are so gullible with it. It is insane. I could not care less about the summer, mate. We have 19 games to win a title. Yeah, I'll worry about the summer when we get it.
Totally get you there. This one here says, this one says, toxic man, shake my head, but go ahead and thank me for the super chat. Not doing it for you, Bob. Terry, keep toxic Arsenal fans in check. It's different now. Listen, my view is this,
millions of like that have infested Arsenal's fan base, by the way, which is why we're a laughing stock. Toxic to want to win the title. Toxic to want the best players at your football club.
I get that. Let me just try and get through these super chats because we are running out of time.
And sit back and smoke that top Guna pack.
Mikel has been fouled time and time again. Edu has stalled on the Saka deal, and he can't get higher priority deals over the lines. What Brandon thinks. It's about standards, Lee. Last 15 years, your club standards were mid, whilst Chelsea's go for top shelf. We don't always get what we want, but we shoot for the best, is what C says. Garrett says, Lee, this is not how wealth works. Our owners' wealth is based off the value of businesses they own, not liquid cash. You are right. And Lee has said that on shows before. He knows it isn't all of that. However, the Kroenke family own Walmart. Walmart theoretically could take over the sponsorship tomorrow of your shirts and pay your club £200 million a year as a sponsor. And you'd never have financial worries ever again. And that's not a dig at the Kroenkes. All the billionaire owners who are worth anything over 5 billion, all of our clubs could spend like City and Newcastle and Todd Bowley are doing, because they've all got relatively the same amount of money. And you could only put your own cash in of up to like 100 million every 3 years anyway. Who hurt you, Lee? Edu, by the sounds of it. AFC.
My football club has been absolutely destroyed and infested in the last 20 years by people that have jumped on board because we won a gold trophy. Listen to that man destroy our football club for the next 10 years by telling everyone 4th place is a trophy. And then when I say no, I remember winning that year, and Sir Peter Hillwood, God rest his soul, came out and said, we're moving to the Emirates Stadium to compete with the best on the planet. Yeah, most of these people that want to chat crap to me weren't even alive or old enough to have witnessed that or a title. But the ones that did jump on board on that title win now have listened to Arsene Wenger lower the standards for everyone in football, not just Arsenal, that 4th is a trophy. My football club has been destroyed, Terry, to pieces. Beyond repair in the last 20 years.
Totally get that. And it's mad that even the poll, Sabitzer's winning it. I think a lot of Arsenal fans do agree with you. Maybe not the way you say it as ever, but they agree. Because this even says, even Egal isn't behind this signing. For Egal not to back a signing, there's an issue. The guy wanted Zaha. Now he's happy with Leo.
I actually said, let's get Zaha and Trossard, mate. Yeah, maybe you don't watch enough.
If Terry switches gear, Lee's eyes will get watery for 2 hours like last week. Hope Bance is on standby to give you a little kiss on the cheek. Petition to replace Lee and Egal with almost any other Arsenal fan. But the thing is with the terraces is you can phone into shows and sort of put yourself forward for things like this. You just
have to put their face on camera to do that, though, Terry. And I don't want
to. Any Arsenal fans that are happy with this Jorginho transfer should support Burnley. This board and fan base got a small club mentality.
Thanks.
Over 20% of Chelsea's goals came from J5's penalties, who's now gone. Oh my God, that's terrible for Chelsea. People calling Lee toxic are losers. They call him a Spurs fan. Maybe they are Spurs fans because they hate winning. Geez, well done, Lee. Keep it up. Terry, there's boards that make those decisions. Stan can't just decide to sponsor a sporting club with a business that has investments. Well, he can and he can't. I mean, what he could theoretically do is say, I want to sponsor the football club and spend even more money. If the board say no, he could sack him. That's what he could do because he owns the football club. Watching on replay, this monologue is deranged, is what Danilo says there.
Thanks.
I want
Again,
I want to say something as well. I mean, the Jorginho deal is an interesting one because I've always, again, there's the evidence. Go back and watch streams. I've always kind of rated him as a player. I've always liked him as a footballer. I think he's really good. Can he do what Thomas Partey can do? No, he's very different. But interestingly, I saw some statistics on him later compared to Partey, just for the sake of it, to put it out there. If you actually look at him this season per 90 minutes, more tackles, more interceptions, more ball recoveries, not as good as passing the ball, which I was actually shocked by, and a better forward passing percentage. So,
yeah, Terry, that's just pointless. Yeah, more
Why?
tackles. That's because Chelsea don't have as much possession as us. Yeah, interceptions. Again, that's because they don't have much possession than us. Yeah, that's why they're 10th in the table and we're top. Ball recoveries, much of a muchness. Yeah, and passes completed. Thomas Partey's clear. Yeah, Jorginho is massively overrated. He's 31 years old. He's the 6th Chelsea reject that is washed, that has come to this football club, and the 5 previous done absolutely nothing. How anyone is backing this when our top target was Caicedo and we've missed out on it? You lot are the most easily pleased fan base in world sport. I'm sorry, not acceptable.
There we go. Lee blaming Edu for an Arteta signing.
Red on what White believing the PR that it's an Arteta signing. Well done, mate. Fully sucked in. Too far gone.
Honesty says here, question for the both. If Arsenal don't win the league and Rice goes to Chelsea or any other club, how will Arsenal fans spin it?
He's a snake. That's what they'll say. That's what they'll say. Imagine Caicedo goes to Man United and Rice goes to Chelsea, or vice versa, and we end up with what?
Yeah, I mean,
there's always a spin campaign, mate. The amount of Arsenal fans with big accounts last night, that were not happy, that are today out here putting out, what are your thoughts on us signing Jorginho? So then what they're doing is they're getting the general consensus in all of the comments underneath after they initially put out not what I ideally wanted last night and showing a little bit of animosity towards it, then putting out tweets today, the exact same account saying, what are your thoughts? Why don't you tell us yours instead, mate? Because what you're doing is you're now asking the audience to give the thoughts, and then when it goes over a certain tipping scale, you'll go with that narrative. I'm sick to death of it, Terry. Yeah, we're at top of the table. We should have been out there actively buying a Thomas Partey cover, which we have failed to do for 3 transfer windows now. And fans are lapping up Jorginho. Sorry, get in the bin. You deserve nothing.
I hear you on that. The difference between Kroenkes and Todd B is directly involved in these transfers. They flew to Portugal and couldn't even drive to Brighton, or how the handsome one Lee flip-flop gunner as a diehard Arsenal fan, it's not good enough. We want to be the best. We have to buy the best available. We have the money, so go. The thing is, as well, I mean, I like Jorginho, and again, I'm not. What I can't do is suddenly say I don't like him because Arsenal have signed him, because Arsenal fans are saying that. I've always said I've rated him, but the crazy thing is, Man United are picking up Sabitzer, who some would argue some would say is better. I mean, the Arsenal fans are voting, and 55% say he's better. So there are players.
El Nenny's better. El Nenny's just injured. El Nenny's more mobile than Jorginho. That ain't even a debate. Yeah, El Nenny is more mobile. Yeah, got decent passing, chips in with goals as well. Obviously, he don't take penalties like Jorginho. Yeah, but El Nenny, if fit, is more adequate as a backup to Thomas Partey than Jorginho. I'd rather sign no one. Yeah, literally.
Get no one. No, I hear you. Lee, wouldn't it help if they kept a lot of the ball? It could do. Let's see what the stats pan out like when he's in. Is he going to be in an Arsenal? I've seen him in an Arsenal shirt. I've seen a picture. It looks good. Buying another Chelsea pensioner. Edu needs to go. Different question here. One here says, Lee bingo. We smashed down the stadium to compete.
Well, we did, and I hold them to that standard. I don't see anyone else on the internet doing that, mate.
Chike here says, what are your thoughts on Cancelo joining Bayern Munich on loan with an option to buy? Yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Just changing
another reason why we should have been all in for Caicedo. They've just got weaker. What have we done? In fact, we've just got weaker. We've just got weaker. El Nenny's out injured, and we've just loaned out Sambi Lokonga. Not that I rate him, but we brought in Jorginho. I'm sorry. Wow.
This comment here says, Arsenal are simply having a great year, but how long will this truly last when the men running the club are still the same?
That's a great question, because if Arsenal win the title this season, Yeah, we could go another 18, 19 years without winning another one, and this fan base would be happy, mate. They would. They'd be happy because they've finally seen us win a title. Because a lot of our fans online ain't. Yeah, they'd just be happy because we won a title. It don't matter if we win it again. We've won a title. Yeah, that's it. And that is unfortunately the reality of this football club. It's not a football club anymore. It's a PR brand, a PR company where the hierarchy at this football club use certain journalists that have been on the payroll indirectly for the last 10, 15 years, to push out stuff like Mikel Arteta was the driving force in the Jorginho deal.
When I saw that today, obviously I shared it, I put it out there. I did think of you, and it made me chuckle. It really did. Viewers, do us a big favor and smash the like button, please. Get that smash right now. Make sure you're subscribing to The Terrace. Remember, at 5 p.m. today, I'm live with Bleacher Report on their app. So download the app for Bleacher Report, and I'll see you over there at 5. Looking forward to that show. I have worked inside a football club, not in the football inside, but still 100% more to this deal than a lot of people, a lot of these moaners know. Always complaining. Do you know what I would say, Hammy? Like, again, to kind of defend it at the other side and not just back Lee on this, I would say I like Jorginho. I'd hold your horses if I was an Arsenal fan upset about this. I understand why they're not backing it, and Lee's not backing it not for the same reasons as Igal. I know what Igal's issue is. Igal's issue is he's been throwing salt at Arsenal, Man United all year because we signed a 30-year-old midfielder in Caicedo, saying that my club would never do that in our rebuild. That isn't how we operate. And then you've gone and done him a year older, and it's almost like, damn, I've been saying we wouldn't do this. I think personally it's a good piece of business. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's a cheap piece of business that still enables you to spend big in the summer on the Rices and Caicedos of this world. However, I couple it where I see your point of view is, and where I get annoyed at Arsenal fans, is this notion of, if that doesn't happen, I don't want to see it spun again. This is where I get annoyed at some of these gooners, is I can see that, okay, we didn't get our number one targets, but we've brought in a good player. You've got to then go and get those number one targets next year. These are the same gooners, by the way, who celebrate not overspending on people. Like, we don't want to overspend, we don't want to overspend. But that only works if you then go on to win the league. If you fail to win the league, not spending the money, and again, there's multiple layers to this. If Mudryk kills it at Chelsea, if by the end of the season that guy is tearing up trees, and if Caicedo ends up at Chelsea, I mean, the crazy thing is Chelsea could end up at the end of this window with all three of your main targets. And if they're there doing that and killing it, and you, man, miss out on the title by a couple of points, I don't think there is any spin, because you had the opportunity. The same as my club. We've got an opportunity of top 4 in trophies. If we didn't bother buying anyone in January, didn't bring in WEGHORST, didn't bring in Sabitzer, and we narrowly missed out, I'd be fuming. I'm not saying this at Arsenal.
But Arsenal did this last January. We've got rid of 6 players, and our accountant fan base were out there going, but we've saved on the wage bill. Okay, yeah, we saved on the wage bill. Fantastic. Is it going in your pocket? No, it ain't. Yeah, then we got knocked out to Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, and we've got bigger fish to fry. Well, it turned out to be a stickleback because we went from 4th to 5th inside 3 games. Yeah, and then we got knocked out the FA Cup to City the other day. Oh, we went toe to toe with Man City. Get in the bin. They're in second gear, and we didn't have a shot on target after 20 minutes. Right, and then we've got bigger fish to fry again. We've now not done what's required again in January to kick on. We are top of the table. We could win the league. Fantastic job we've done so far. Now you're looking for that board, including, Edu, the main one, and the board, to sit there and say, bang, we're going to bully Brighton into submission. That's the player we want. That helps us get over the line. It's a want and it is a need for our squad, and something for the last 3 windows we've not got. And people are going, oh, it don't matter. Mikel Arteta wants him because Ornstein said so. Most easily pleased fans in world sport, mate.
I hear you on that. This here says, I found very funny hearing Jorginho is old. He's 31. Partey is 30 this year, and Mohamed El-Neni is 32. He's a ready-made product. That's great. A great deal for us, is what High Star has got to say here. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to all of you today. Thank you very, very much indeed. Lee and I will be back again next week, where it'll be football only, because the transfer window will be over. We had another super chat, actually, that says, not Arteta.
Biden Saka's deal would have been announced to please everyone.
This here says, not Arteta's first choice, but reminder, Gabby Jesus, first choice either. Now look at us. I agree, it's risky. But that is true. Like, Odegaard wasn't first choice. So you've had a few second choices that have done very well for you.
Yeah, we have. But at the same time, we've signed a lot of crap, and a lot of it was done by Edu. Yeah, and three of them have been Chelsea rejects, mate.
There we go. Listen, everyone who's tuned in, I thank you all very, very much. As always, please hit the like button before you leave. Come back and leave us your comments below as well. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.